All right, today is November 30th, and this is a conversation with Susan and Morten. And so, Morten, you're doing some new things in your training. Tell me about what you're doing.
Yeah, to get more into each of the 9 energies, we do movement training. And we're counting load. So we count this. We do, for example, 9, energy 9 behind the shoulder blades, and we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to 100. And we do that to distract our brains to be able to get into the energy in an easier way.
So you're doing that with each of the 9 energies? And you do a different kind of movement style associated with each of the energies?
So with 9, we do the circling around the shoulder blades, always moving backwards. Even if you're moving forward, you're moving behind your shoulder blades. Okay, and we count to 100. And yeah, so you move it like you do, and you count load.
Oh, it feels good. My back's aching from that car accident. Dear. Oh, okay. So what do you do for 1?
So for 1, we're walking 1, 2, 3, and then we change. And as soon as we change, we can't change faster than you have the feeling of the stretch from the area here, which is loaded with your oneness. It's you have to load it through the counting 1, 2, 3. And the reason why we count load is to stop the thinking process and be more in the energy.
Cool. And do you do anything with your hands or body as you're walking around in 1, or just your focus on the muscles of the hyoglossus?
Yeah. And with 2, it is the movement back and forth and here.
Yeah, in the upper rectus abdominis muscles.
Yeah.
Do you do anything with the arms with 2, or just moving around in that part of the body?
Yeah. And I'm trying to hold the arms. So I'm not doing like this, but I'm holding the arms. So I shoot out the solar plexus.
Okay,
area.
Cool. And do you go from 1 through 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
We change it. Sometimes we do something else. Here, what's important here with 3 is that we are up, smiling, and it's a roll. We are roll. It's not this. This is not 3.
It's a roll.
You're rolling with your upper sternum. Roll it, and 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 roll it.
Oh boy. Cool.
Yeah. And 4, we are counting inside ourselves, and we're moving back and forth, and we're holding our hands on our hips in front of our legs. Yeah. And counting 1.
Are you bringing attention to the lower third of the abs?
Yeah.
To creating that expansion of the lower third of the abs?
Yeah, and when we walk with this. If you say that this is the area.
The lower abs.
Yeah, this is leaning. Even if you go backward, it's leaning forward. If this is the force between the pubic bone and then.
It's the lower abdominal muscles that are involved.
Yeah, and with 5, you hold your hands up. Okay, it's like you're holding your hat, and all the movements go. Yeah, you get it. All the movements comes from top of the head. That's beautiful. You're really good. You know what part.
And what do you do for 6?
And 6, I do what you have learned me. I hold my hands here, and I go with my chest without doing this with my arms. It's like I'm using my chest, and really I stretch it, and I hold it and stretch it.
So the chest pop is good, but you don't want to go just, I'm responding, my body's responding. So just, it's like use the chest pop to establish the lift, but then don't collapse in between.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. And the reason that is you're actually expanding the intercostal muscles.
Yeah.
So you want to go, and then the movement can be like, you know, like this. So it's with that fully expanded chest, and then, you know, it's like the popping, the lifting, the movement can be like that, so that the chest is leading.
Yeah.
Okay. So not the down and up as much as the expansion and the holding the expansion would be my recommendation on that one.
I will try that tomorrow morning. I do this one every day, every morning. I've done that since August. So I do it, and I learn more and more about it. So I've done it like I count to 1,000 every day. So I do that. And
that's cool.
Really healthy. Feels really healthy. With 7, we do something else. Before we were doing like this with the whole body. But Galina, the 7 here in Norway, she teaches us something. Close the eyes, get the still point, and lead your movements, whatever you do, from that quiet place. And be aware of your space, and you see kind of your own space in the room. It is so nice.
And for non-7s, the frontalis muscles pull back. There's a pulling back, and the eyes look up towards the third eye. That helps also.
So you are relaxed.
To create the 7 space. So these pull back, and the eyes look up.
Yeah.
And do you do that with eyes closed and or open?
Closed.
Closed.
To be more aware of the interesting thing that happens between the body and the 7, quietness, interesting space, and that's the place where I forget. It's like time is disappearing. It's like I count to 100, but I could have been counting to 300 because it's inside. It's very nice.
Cool.
With 8, we do the.
I need to see your hips.
So I'm really done with my knees, and I go back and forth this way, and also this way. So it's both, and that's really good for the back. Really, really nice.
What I've learned with 8 also is the gluteus maximus muscles and the quadriceps are engaged as well. So there's a pushing down. So since we're doing body modeling today, so there's that tilt. So the activation happens with the tilt down, and then with the gluteus maximus muscles engaging, and the pushing happens forward and back through the legs. So the front leg pushes forward, the back leg pushes back. So you could do movement like that, where you're pushing forward and back, also bringing it through the legs. I wouldn't bend the legs so much. 8s aren't super bent, because that actually causes, things to happen to the upper body. So you want to just, the legs are relaxed, but they're pushing down and through and forward and back. There's a motion forward and back that you might think about integrating.
Yeah. And
I realize it's like this whole continuous body experience of the gluteus maximus and the quadriceps and hamstrings.
So, the 8s are teaching us. So if we do something weird, we stretch up and we do the same as them. So.
Yeah, you have a fair number of 8s in your community, don't you?
The only thing what I see is that I have to overdo the other than my own 3, because I overdo it to get into it, and then I can relax more into it after.
You have to a little overdo it.
Yeah. I always say, when I do 9, it's like I have to be aware of that. It's not so easy for me to do 9 as it is for Birgit, who is a 9.
Right, of course.
I kind of overdo it until I feel more relaxed. The counting is very helpful.
Cool. I'll try it.
And it's nice because we count together loud. Like 10
As a community.
Yeah.
And you always do all 9 together, or do you just sometimes just do one and then work with that energy?
I do all 9 every day, every single day, because I want to invest some time in it and see what happened with my body when I do this for like 3-4 months or a year or whatever. Cool. So we were talking about something I figured out about this, and it's right in front of our nose. I think we have been talking about it before. I think we are really aware of it. But sometimes you get a hit of something which you think, why didn't I start to practice this more? And this is about relationship between people. Mm-hmm. So I figured out, so you're a 6 and I'm a 3. We know that. And I can understand you because I can do 6 with my body. Okay? And you can understand me and because you can do 3. If a relationship, a couple is together and they go through the romance, they have a nice time, after a couple of years, it starts to become difficult. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they can't do each other's energy in the body. Mm-hmm. So I did this tryout with Solveig, which is a 4, and we started to talk about it, because it was a little bit difficult for her to do 3. In the moment she started to do 3 more, it was so much easier for her to understand my pace and my way of talking. Uh-huh. So I believe the teaching in relationship has to be so physical with couples. Yeah. They actually have to start to train in their body to do the partner's energy. Yeah. Yeah. We do that with our, with any couples. Well, often, and that's what one of the things we do in the relationship classes that we teach is like, okay, so you're going to do your partner's energy and listen to them talk. Yeah. Yeah. See what that feels like, yeah. And vice versa. And it's, people are shocked by it, but yeah, it is very valuable. I know we have been talking about it before, but I really feel that we need to inspire people to train on others, the partner's energy for a long time, to like a little bit every day, to be able to see each other for who they are. And it's so much easier. And I believe if you can't do it in your body, you don't understand that. Yeah, I agree with that. When things aren't working very well with Martin and I, if we're off kilter, I'll often go and activate my 5-ness and just stop my thinking process and receive him. And it makes a huge difference that I'm able to do that. And if I don't do that, it just gets worse. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does. So it's a very simple way, but in the same time, I think it's really necessary to people to get how important it is to understand, not only understand that the other person has another energy, but to actually be able to do it. Yeah, I agree. The learning more about where your partner lives and why they're making their choices, because their choices and their actions come from that part of them. Yeah. And it's not something they can change. And I think that we fall in love with energies that represent love to us. So energies that have been given love to us in the past, we know those energies, we know what that love feels like. Yeah. And so we look for that love from those energies that are familiar to us. So that's the attraction part of it. Yeah. And the attraction part of it creates all of the relationship love stuff. But ultimately, if you don't learn to receive the truth from your partner, you go back to wanting them to be more like you. And why don't they get you? And why don't they understand you? And why don't they behave like you? And that starts to break the relationship down. So until you can actually be with them and like them, to hear them from their power and their strength and their gift, relationship becomes very challenging. I agree. And then we go to the next step in this story. It's so we started with the new teaching again, or the new way of being together again. So instead of having a program that we were supposed to do, for example, 1 or 2 in a training, what we do now is that we start with me and Birgit. Birgit has half of the group, and I have half of the group. And they train on us to do 3 and 9. To deepen the relationship and understanding of how we teach, what we do, and what kind of energy we represent through the teaching. I think that's the basic start with a group of people or new people who's going to be with us. So the deeper they get in contact with us, the easier it is for them to be able to listen to us through the energy we have, because they start to understand it in their body. So I think that has been a missing link for...
Sorry, are you teaching them about 3 and 9 first?
No, yeah, so 3 and 9 first. Because I am the voice in the room for a long time until they get more developed. What I see now is that they deepen the relationship through the knowledge I carry inside of my body. I carry a certain knowledge about this work through the years I have been into it. Right. And I really want to present it for people. But it's not every time that I find a way to present it so they receive it. But if I'm vulnerable in my treeness, so I let them push on me, try me, hands. I'm vulnerable, and I know that I can handle it. So they get all that help, crazy pushes in the beginning on me instead of others. And then
in 3 or in all of them? Are you training all of them or training 3?
All of them. All of them, because I can be with strange pushes. I can be with strange faces, not doing 3, doing 7 instead of, you see, I can be with all that without backing off. Uh-huh. We take a lot of stuff away in the beginning now. Uh-huh. They have a deeper understanding and a deeper respect for the next energy they're going to train. And they're really, really happy about it. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen them so deepening their interest in it as I have seen now.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing what you're doing, because I'm always looking for fun and new things to do. We'll try that. How long? So it takes about 1.5 minutes for each one, or almost 2 minutes for each one. Yeah. So you're looking at 20 minutes doing the movement.
Yeah, and you and Morten, if you split them in 2, like we did this morning, they came back, and this morning, there were only 3 who were working with Birgit, and there were 4 people working with me, with 3. And the very interesting thing about this is that the 3 people who worked with Birgit, one of them is Kasper, the 5. He was sitting with me to do some work afterwards, and he was so confused. He said, I have no understanding of what's going on. And I said, because you are in a new space. So he got 9, but he couldn't get his mind around what was happening. So
as a 5. Yeah,
as a 5.
So he stayed with the 9 open and connected then.
Yeah. And it was beautiful. He said, I'm just confused. And he acted very differently to me. It's like he just wanted to sit in that space by himself. So he didn't want to engage with my 3 energy, because it was turned on. We have been doing 3 for like 1 hour. So I was like, yeah. So then they really got to understand the huge, huge, huge difference.
That's good. Putting somebody in the space where they stay in the space is an interesting experience. So you started off with doing all 9 for 100 seconds each, and then you went and worked on 3 and 9.
Mm. And when we get this established, then I will see who I can use to teach, for example, 6 or 8 or something else.
Yeah, one of the things that is what we're looking at is like, well, how do I get 4 or 5 of each of the natural energies to come for the week of that, so that people can see and experience the difference and see, because if you get more than 3 or 4 in the room, the energy just happens, even if they're relatively new. If you get over 3 or 4 people, you actually have enough of it to use it for teaching.
Yeah.
And they start to find their commonalities, and they start to find their physical presence, and those kinds of things start to happen. That's so, what we were talking about one of the earlier calls about volume. There have to be enough of the energy to actually make an awareness of the presence of the energy for the others.
But you, with your development in your body, you can hold 6. Martin can hold 5 in a room. Biggie can hold 9. I can hold 3. But the next energy needs to be more.
Yeah. If it's not one of us, absolutely. Yeah. And we only have 3 students right now. So, it's, we're working really intensively with those 3. One's a 2, one's a 4, and one's a 7. And, they really respond to the teaching so differently. It's obviously, and then there's so many other issues that they bring in. It's like, well, how comfortable are they pushing on people or being in a person's personal space? And then like, well, I'm afraid I'm going to take that energy, and the 4 doesn't want to put everybody in her bubble. And I was like, okay, well, these are real issues if you're going to be doing this work out in the world. And so it brings up all the questions about, well, what is their commitment? What are they interested in doing? Why are they doing this? What do they want to do? They have to start to actually come to peace and to terms with the changes they have to make in order to, in the way they just think about life, as they get new information in. And it's very interesting to see where they rub up against their resistances, and how do you move them past that? How do they move themselves past that?
Yeah. And I see it's not worth it to ask them about commitment the first year, because they don't know what they commit to.
Right.
They have to do their own training first.
Yeah.
And then we see if there is somebody left who wants to do this. This is just the way it is. It's like a garden. You can't just start to plant something and it will not grow. You have to be with the land and give it the nourishment, and then you see if something grows.
Yes. Yeah. And one of the things we were talking about last night at our teacher training was about how each is going to do this quite differently. What's the learning? You and I were talking about the felt sense of each of the natural energies on the call that I did not record, but we're just watching them using their strength to try to make sense of the other energies, because there is a component of that. It's like, because I don't abandon my 6ness completely. It's actually the primary sensor I use to make sense, to take the information in when I am first feeling a person. So I stand up there and pushing gently. I am receiving with my chest, because that's what I decode with, basically, right? And then once I have a sense of direction to go, then I go into the other energy. But in the beginning, it's essentially I am using my strength to get a sense of what direction to go. Yeah. It's not that I'm activating my 6 and being all 6-like. No, I'm in a neutral place, but my sensor is active.
Yeah. And I think that's a better way to explain what we do after the counting. As soon as we're finished to do the movement, when we get into the energies, we are in a neutral position. They are in neutral to be able to feel a vibration or a movement or something that's going on in their eye, in another person's eyes when we're standing in front, without doing anything, just receiving what's going on.
So somehow you and I figured out how to get our bodies into neutral.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is your movement practice helps people get into neutral.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, and they, of course, through 100 seconds, they get, sooner or later, they get in touch with energy. Because there's so many movements. So sooner or later, I will do 9 in a way where I can feel it. Mm-hmm. Even if it was the first time.
So your community has been working on the postures and the energy and activating the energies in their body for some of them for many years. Are they finding this gives them a powerful access to the feeling of the energy?
What I see and what I thought I have done is that I was sure that I have been able to help them to awake all 9 energies in the body. It doesn't seem to be true. What seems to be true is that they get a flavor and a touch of it, but there needs to be a deepening into it where they are able to hold it for a longer time. So I'm finding new ways so they can train, like the movement or meditation or something else, to be in that energy for a longer time. I can give you an example. A 7 is standing in front of me and they do smiling and they do 3. And as soon as we are finished, they are, oh my God. So, because it's so intense.
It's so intense. Yeah.
Yeah. So they disappear from it. And I'm learning them now to not disappear from the energy.
But to enjoy it and ride it.
Yes. And ride it, which you are, the expert on riding on energy. That's the 6th thing. I mean, you have these waves, you ride on energy and you like it. Not every energy does that. They want to process it, or they want to think about it, or they want to do something. They want to feel it in their body. So they go home, and I don't want them to go home before they have been in that other energy for a longer time.
Well, what seems to me to be really important in this process is anything that helps you to become aware of the muscles and the bones that are being used to activate. Like if you're doing 3, that actually teaches how to use your trapezius muscles in the back to lift your upper sternum, because that's something that people don't know how to do. And I get that feeling in the roll. So the physical movement is going to build the muscles and the muscle awareness of how do I actually create that lift in my body. That same thing, the way this hands together allows you to lift there. When you push your hands, you can lift right here. So the postures generate the muscular and bone responses that then generate the energetic responses. And then how do you sustain that? You have to have the musculature and the bones comfortable enough that you can hold it.
Yeah.
Right? And then you also have to be able to handle the intensity of that energy in your body, the difference in your normal way of being.
This is what I mean about relationship. So I was holding, I have them to hold their hands. I have another 3 today together with me, Vanya, and I said to them, hold the hand between her shoulder blades and then go over to Birgit and hold your hand there. He doesn't have any muscles between, there is nothing happening between the shoulder blades.
The shoulder blades, yeah. There's no muscles on the back almost, yeah.
And then you go over to Birgit and it's like, oh my God, it's like putting your hands on a muscle pillow with energy, full of energy and warmth, and it's something happening behind there. And I said to them, hold your hand on me. And they said, but you have muscle. Yes, because I've been training for many years to do this.
Right. Well, and one of the cool things when we were doing our photo project, we had 3 9s, and they all took their shirts off, and we photographed their backs. And they have very specific. They have 4 lines on the back, 1 down the center, then 2 more typically. And then we put me in the middle with my back, which is pretty developed because I've been doing a lot. I do a fair amount, and I've been nothing like what they do. Obviously, I don't live it. And even with as far back, I only had one line on my back. And I didn't have any of that. As you say, it's almost like a pillow of muscle on the back that is so powerful.
And the tree doesn't have any muscle here. It's like a triangle between which there is nothing. And then the shoulders.
It's the upper trapezius instead of the lower trapezius for 3.
Which is lifting up. And it's so amazing. And I mean.
Well, and you also get the collarbone thing, right? Yeah. It protrudes between here. Show us your collarbone. Can you lean in? More over here. It's like it sticks out. It's hard to see it, but yes. So it sticks out right up here, kind of rolls out because the top vertebrae has been going underneath the...
So we did that today. So we were holding the hands on the tree here. And I said, if you're standing in the right position, that's right here. And then it's a line here. And it's like a box here, which is, if there is a 1, they lift up, and this is down, and it's a long stretch here. So they're starting to get the huge difference in the body, which is amazing and interesting.
Well, and this photo project that we've been doing has revealed all kinds of interesting things about the body. You know, for the 3, the collarbone, 3s are typically narrow in the body, slim and narrow.
Shoulders,
Yeah. 1s actually have a raise here, and but 9s have a flatness across here. So there's very specific physiological. And ask your 8s for me. Do they have back dimples? You know what a back dimple is? Right on either side of the sacrum, a little indent in the back.
Well, I'm going to watch Rigmor. She was talking about it today. How about what you talked about? How her, when she does her movement, how it ties up the whole area.
The whole area, yeah. And ask her if she has those back dimples. Ask Thomas, because I'm doing a survey right now. I'm going to put it on my Facebook, but because it could be that all 8s have back dimples. And because all of the ones we photographed did, my dad has them and my daughter has them. And so I'm curious whether, because then it would be really easy to type age. Just like, kind of look at your sacrum area and see if you have back dimples.
It's really amazing to see how physical the energy shapes the body.
It is so amazing, so consistent. And, you know, I'm so excited because we're starting to really begin to break it down and make it much more clear so people can start to learn it from, you know.
From another place.
Yeah, a different way. Yeah, it's very exciting. Well, I think this is a great place to end today. And this was a wonderful call, new different ways of looking at how do you learn this and how do you teach your body to the strength. And so great. Thanks, Morten. I really appreciate it.